In the summer of 1942, Pascagoula, Mississippi, was a town that still smelled like salt water and pine sap. A fishing village on the Gulf Coast where shrimp boats knocked against the docks at dusk, and Spanish moss hung so low it brushed your shoulders when you walked beneath the oaks. But the war had changed everything. The Ingalls shipyard was running day and night, building destroyers for the United States Navy. A town of 5,000 had swollen to nearly 15,000 in a matter of months. They arrived by train with cardboard suitcases and hat brims pulled low. Welders, pipe fitters, riveters, all looking for work that paid better than anything back home. Pascagoula wasn't a sleepy fishing village anymore. It was a boom town, and boom towns attract more than just workers. Under wartime blackout regulations, every light in town was extinguished after dark. No street lamps, no porch lights, no neon signs. The army had ordered total darkness along the coast, and the threat was real. German U-boats had been spotted in the Gulf of Mexico, close enough that their periscopes could catch the glow of a coastal town and use it to silhouette Allied cargo ships. Tankers were being torpedoed within sight of shore. Oil fires burned on the water at night. The war wasn't somewhere far away. It was right there, just past the breakers. Propaganda posters went up on every wall. Keep your lights off. Loose lips sink ships. The paranoia was official policy. Air raid wardens patrolled the empty streets after dark, checking windows for cracks of light, their flashlight beams the only thing moving through the fog. It was into this darkness on the night of June 5th, 1942, that someone came to the convent of Our Lady of Victories. Two girls slept inside, 11-year-old Mary Evelyn Briggs and 12-year-old Edna Marie Heidel. They woke to see a man climbing out of their bedroom window. He hadn't touched them, hadn't robbed them. But when they reached up and felt their heads, they each found that a lock of hair had been cut away. A pair of scissors, a few strands of blonde hair left behind on the windowsill, and a slit cut neatly through the window screen. Mary Evelyn would later describe the man as, quote, "sorta short, sorta fat, and he was wearing a white sweatshirt." Bloodhounds were brought to the convent the next morning. They picked up a scent and followed it through the pine woods at the edge of town. The trail led to a clearing where an abandoned bicycle lay in the tall grass, as if someone had stashed it there for a quick getaway. The very next Monday, the intruder struck again. 6-year-old Carol Peaty had been asleep beside her twin brother David when someone crept into the room, cut off her blonde curls, and vanished. This time the intruder left something behind, a sandy footprint pressed into the white bedsheet of an empty bed near the window. Investigators documented the print. It was bare. The intruder had removed his shoes, deliberately, carefully, before entering the home. Every attack followed the same pattern. A window screen sliced open with a blade. Entry in total silence. Hair taken. Nothing else disturbed. And then in mid-June, the pattern broke. The intruder entered the home of Terrell Heidelberg and his wife. But this time he didn't come with scissors. He came with an iron bar. He beat them both as they slept. Mrs. Heidelberg nearly died. Bloodhounds tracked the attacker into the woods again, to the same dead end. This time, they found a pair of leather gloves abandoned on the pine needles. The Heidelbergs were rushed to the hospital. Pascagoula was no longer dealing with a peculiar nuisance. This was something violent, something escalating. Before the month was out, there was another attack. A woman named Mrs. Taylor became violently ill after she was found unconscious in her bed. Investigators believe the intruder had used a chloroform-soaked rag to subdue her. A small brown bottle was found near the scene. The Phantom Barber, as the newspapers had begun calling him, was no longer just cutting hair. The town broke. Men refused to work the night shift at the shipyard, saying they needed to stay home to protect their families. Women wouldn't go out after dark. Residents lined up at the courthouse to apply for firearms permits. The story hit papers across the country. The Phantom Barber of Pascagoula. It sounded like something from a pulp novel, except the people living through it weren't sleeping at night. Production at Ingalls shipyard slowed. Whatever the Phantom Barber's motive was, the effect was real. A wartime shipyard was losing workers because of a man with a pair of scissors. The police were desperate. Chief WWII brought in outside help. A Pinkerton detective named Miris Talley. If anyone could find the Phantom Barber, it would be a Pinkerton man. But even Talley struggled. No fingerprints, no reliable witnesses besides Mary Evelyn's vague description. The blackout conditions that were meant to protect the town had given the intruder the perfect cover. Investigators pinned a map of the town to the wall and connected the attack locations with string. There had to be a pattern. Someone who knew these streets. Someone who moved through the dark like he'd been doing it all his life. A $300 reward was posted. Serious money in 1942. But the Phantom Barber had gone quiet. Weeks passed without an incident. The town held its breath. Then, 2 months after the final attack, police announced they had their man. Officers descended on a small house at dawn. The suspect was William Dolan, a 57-year-old chemist, German-born, educated in Germany. He'd run a pharmacy in New Orleans for years before retiring to Pascagoula with his wife. Behind Dolan's home, police claimed they found a bundle of human hair. The FBI later said some of it matched Carol Petey, the 6-year-old whose curls had been cut as she slept beside her twin brother. They also found barber scissors, but Dolan was not charged with the hair cuttings. He was charged with the attempted murder of the Heidelbergs. The trial was swift. The courtroom was packed. Pascagoula wanted this to be over. Guilty, 10 years in Parchman prison. Dolan was led from the courthouse in handcuffs, flashbulbs popping around him. He maintained his innocence. He would continue to maintain it for the rest of his life. The case against him was circumstantial at best. He had motive for the Heidelberg attack, a known personal dispute with the family. But the hair cuttings, the chloroform, the convent break-in, none of that was ever pinned to him in court. There was another theory. Dolan was German. He'd reportedly made positive comments about Hitler. In a town gripped by wartime paranoia, that was enough. Chief Ezel suggested Dolan's motive was sabotage, that the break-ins were designed to terrorize residents and slow production at the shipyard. 6 years later, Mississippi Governor Fielding Wright reopened the case. Something about it didn't sit right. He ordered Dolan to take a lie detector test. Dolan passed. In 1951, William Dolan walked out of Parchman prison, a free man. He left Mississippi and never came back. The conviction stood technically, but the hair cuttings were never solved. No one was ever charged. The Phantom Barber, whoever he was never identified. Was it Dolan? Was it someone else entirely? Someone who watched a convenient scapegoat take the fall and simply stopped? Was it sabotage? A fetish? Some private compulsion that burned itself out on its own? When the blackout regulations finally lifted and the lights came back on in Pascagoula, people expected to feel safe again. But the Phantom Barber had already proved something unsettling. That in total darkness, anyone can walk into your home while you sleep. 80 years later, a pair of scissors is still missing from the evidence. The case file is still technically open. And the real Phantom Barber, if it wasn't William Dolan, lived out the rest of his life in silence. Sorta short, sorta fat. Wearing a white sweatshirt, that's all we ever had. And that was enough to keep an entire town awake. If you enjoyed this story, do me a favour. Hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. We cover the strangest, most forgotten corners of history every week. And trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming next. Drop a comment and let me know. Do you think William Dolan was the Phantom Barber? Or is the real one still out there? I'll see you in the next one.